James Potter, also known as Prongs, was a pureblood wizard and the only son of Fleamont and Euphemia Potter. He attended Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry from 1971 to 1978. He was killed by Lord Voldemort while attempting to defend his wife and son. This is the life of James Potter. James was born on March 27, 1960 into a pure-blood wizarding family of considerable wealth. His parents, Fleamont and Euphemia, were elderly even by wizarding standards. Since he was their only child and had such a late arrival in their lives, James's parents pampered him a great deal. Hence it was no surprise that he grew to be proud, arrogant and boastful, but deep down, still a good person. James started his first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in 1971 and was sorted into Gryffindor House. While there, he befriended fellow Gryffindors Sirius Black, Remus Lupin and Peter Pettigrew. Together, they formed a small gang known only to themselves as the Marauders. Though more mischievous than diligent, James proved to be a clever student, and at some point during his education, he became chaser for his house's Quidditch team, in which he was completely aware of his brilliant talent. As second years, James, Sirius and Peter figured out that Remus was a werewolf, but rather than abandoning him, they spent 3 years learning to become animagi in order to accompany Remus in his transformations. In his 5th year, James managed to perfect the transformation and became a stag animagus, which earned him the nickname Prongs. Sirius became a large black dog, earning him the nickname of Padfoot. Peter mastered the animagus form of a rat and was called Wormtail, while Moony was the name Remus adopted due to the full moon that triggered his transformations. Using their new nicknames, the 4 friends created the Marauders map, which displayed the Hogwarts castle area and everyone within it, including all staff, ghosts and students in their current location at the given time, and thus made sneaking out of the castle and avoiding teachers much easier. For the vast majority of his time at school, James was somewhat an obnoxious youth with a love of showing off and exceptional self-confidence that bordered on arrogance. Severus Snape once said that he was so arrogant that criticism simply bounced off him. This rebellious attitude was notably shaped by the negative qualities he developed, such as the habit of ruffling his hair to make it even untidier, to look as though he had just alighted from his broomstick. Also hexing innocent students for no other reason than because he could, especially Severus Snape, a Slytherin in the same year as him. These qualities came about as a result of his pampered and spoiled upbringing. James and Snape had a strong rivalry throughout their time at Hogwarts. To Remus and Sirius, the reason this rivalry began was due to Snape's jealousy over James's talent at Quidditch and his popularity, as well as Snape's interest in the dark arts, which James despised. However, it was later revealed that James and Sirius had gotten off on the wrong foot with Snape from the very beginning. When they first met him during their first year on the Hogwarts Express, they insulted him, and their further interactions only served to make the rivalry more intense and permanent than ever. Snape followed the Marauders around, looking for reasons to get them expelled. James, in turn, used the hexes Snape himself had made up against him. At some point in their school years, Snape grew very interested in where Remus went every month, and saw Madame Pomfrey and Remus going to the Shrieking Shack, using a secret passage under the Whomping Willow. Sirius had, for reasons unknown, told him that the trick to getting past the Whomping Willow was to poke the knot at the bottom. Snape followed Sirius' directions and was nearly at the Shrieking Shack when James pulled him back. At great risk to his own life, James saved Severus from certain death at the claws of the werewolf Remus, but Snape adamantly refused to believe that his old rival would have done him a favour, believing that James had only saved him in order to avoid expulsion, and despised being in his debt. James spent much of his academic career chasing after Lily Evans, an attractive Muggle-born fellow Gryffindor from Snape's hometown of Cokeworth, who was secretly Snape's best friend and also childhood crush since before they both started at Hogwarts. Lily was perhaps the only student in the entire school, aside from Snape, who was completely unimpressed by James, considering him arrogant and obnoxious. She once demanded James to quit jinxing Snape. James and his friends were in the middle of bullying Severus with a spell of his own invention. Lily told him to stop, and James responded with, "I will if you'll go out with me, Evans." When James took the jinx off, Snape, in his humiliation and anger, lashed out and called Lily a filthy little mudblood. James demanded him to apologise, but Lily responded that James was as bad as Snape and she would not date him even if it were a choice between him and the giant squid. Snape's friendship with Lily may have sparked envy in James and further fueled the hateful enmity between the two. At the age of 16, James's parents allowed Sirius to move in with them so he could escape his own horrible family, and Sirius soon became an unofficial member of their family. By his 7th year, James had lost less than the savoury aspects of his personality and was even appointed head boy, despite the fact that he had not been a prefect. He also finally managed to impress Lily Evans and began dating her at this time. He stopped hexing bystanders for fun, though he still secretly hexed Snape, and in turn, Snape never lost an opportunity to hex him back. In late 1977, Lily and James had a disastrous first meeting with Lily's sister Petunia Evans and her then fiancé Vernon Dursley, which presumably took place over the Christmas break, as they were both still at Hogwarts. When Vernon tried to impress James with his car, the wizard in turn boasted of his own material wealth, and a row ensued. The evening ended with both Vernon and Petunia storming out of the restaurant, and Lily bursting into tears, with James promising to apologise and make it up, which unfortunately never happened due to the untimely death of he and Lily. Petunia was married to Vernon by the end of 1977. Though Lily and James were invited to the wedding, Petunia refused to have Lily as a bridesmaid, upsetting her deeply. At the reception, Vernon would not talk to James either, but described him as some magician within his earshot. After graduation, at only 18 years old, James married Lily, and Sirius served as their best man at the wedding. The three of them, along with Remus and Peter, joined the Order of the Phoenix in the fight against Lord Voldemort and his Death Eaters. During the course of the next 3 years, James and Lily defied the Dark Lord 3 times as the war continued. The first was when they refused to join Voldemort's side when he attempted to recruit them. At some point between 1979 and 1980, James's parents died of dragonpox, and he inherited the vast Potter family fortune from them, which enabled him to comfortably support his family without the need for a paying job. James also used his wealth to support Remus, who was unemployable due to his status as a werewolf. In the autumn of 1979, Lily became pregnant, which caused her and her husband to go into hiding. On July 31st, 1980, Lily gave birth to their son, Harry James Potter, but it was not long before Albus Dumbledore found out that they were in the gravest of dangers. Harry had become a target of Lord Voldemort himself due to a prophecy concerning the one who could ultimately defeat him for good. Voldemort had learned of the prophecy through his follower, Severus Snape, who was none other than an old, bitter enemy of James as well, and the former best friend of Lily. In 1981, Dumbledore told the Potters that their best chance of remaining safe against Voldemort was the use of the Fidelis Charm. James insisted on using Sirius as their secret keeper, even though Dumbledore himself had offered to fill the position. However, Sirius had a different plan. He convinced James and Lily to use Peter as their secret keeper instead, with him as a decoy. They both agreed, and Dumbledore cast the charm in secret, but this attempt at a double bluff ended in tragedy. The only people to know about the switch were James, Lily, Sirius and Peter. Even Albus and Remus were kept in the dark. Less than a week later, Peter betrayed the Potter's secret to Voldemort. When the Dark Lord arrived at Godric's Hollow on Halloween night in 1981, James told Lily to take Harry and run. After his wife and son were out of the room, he stood to face the most dangerous dark wizard of all time on his own, in order to give his wife and child time to escape the cottage. However, James had made a fatal mistake. He had left his wand in the living room, where he had been entertaining his young son before Voldemort's arrival. Voldemort effortlessly murdered him with the killing curse. Voldemort then proceeded upstairs to where Lily and the infant Harry were hiding. He murdered Lily, who died protecting Harry, but thanks to her loving sacrifice, the killing curse Voldemort cast at Harry rebounded and destroyed the Dark Lord's body, leaving Harry with only a lightning bolt shaped scar. Thus, baby Harry became known as the boy who lived, and whose name would become famous. After the deaths of Lily and James, Their son was raised by Lily's unloving sister, Petunia, and her grumpy husband, Vernon, along with their glutton of a son, Dudley. Despite not remembering his parents, Harry still held them in high esteem. This faltered slightly where his father was concerned. He learned that James had been something of a bully in his youth, witnessing a memory of Severus Snape's, in which James and Sirius picked on and humiliated Snape simply because they were bored. Snape, who switched sides after Lily's death and became potions professor at Hogwarts, treated Harry with disdain throughout his academic career, perceiving him to be as arrogant as his father, a determined rule breaker, attention-seeking and impertinent. In revenge, he frequently bullied and humiliated Harry. In 1998, after Voldemort's return, Harry learned that he was a Horcrux of the Dark Lords and walked towards his death in the Forbidden Forest. Upon entering, he used the Resurrection Stone to summon James and the others who had perished in the war against Voldemort. James and Lily told Harry that they were tremendously proud of him, proud of his outstanding courage and strength, and assured him that they would stay with him until the very end. Harry described their very presence as his courage, the reason he was able to keep putting one foot in front of the other, with Lily smiling at him and James nodding in encouragement. Harry eventually named his eldest child after his late father James, who had gained 2 more grandchildren in Albus Severus and Lily Luna Potter. In his sacrifice for his wife and son, James Potter proved that one's previous actions do not define the person they are set to become. He may have begun as a bully, but he certainly died as a hero. And that is all for today's video, everyone, on the life of James Potter, one of my personal favourite characters. Guys, make sure you're following me on Instagram if you want to be included in the wand giveaway that's happening next month. And for all you Harry Potter fans that are also Game of Thrones fans, I have a second channel called Game of Thronelore, and the link to that channel is on the right hand side. Check out my other Harry Potter folklore videos on the left. Thanks again guys, I hope you all have a great day.